Hi, my name is Julia. You're listening to the podcast of the Master School of Happiness, and this is a video with artist Benjamin Langholz. Enjoy. Hi, Benjamin. Thanks for joining me today. It's very much a pleasure. Please,
Well, hello.
please introduce yourself.
I'm Benjamin Langholz. In what vector should I introduce myself? I'm like a human. Uh, I live in Reno, Nevada now. I used to live in Berlin, where we met, and yeah, I make sculptures and do many other things as well.
Ooh, okay, that sounds nice. I'm I'm referring to the other things. It's like how many things do you do?
Oh, well, these days I say I'm doing the ultimate form of sculpture of the body and the mind, and mostly that means just going to the gym of different sorts. But
Do you prepare for a specific event? Like when we met, I think you did like a half marathon, right?
yeah, maybe a marathon and then but no, now I'm training for climbing mostly. Like I do like weights 4 days a week and then climbing 3 days a week and yeah, doing ice climbing in next week and yeah,
Oh, wow.
like
Okay.
sort of mountain adventures. That's the situation.
Okay,
Yeah.
very interesting. Um,
Yeah.
let's jump actually to Berlin and when we met. It's like I think on our second date, and which is related actually to your art as well. You tied me up, right?
Oh, yeah. I actually didn't remember if I ever tied you up exactly, but yeah, I guess so.
Yes,
Because that wasn't like a big continuation of us knowing each other. That's for sure.
it wasn't a big continuation.
Of us knowing each other, like tying was not involved in it very much, I would say.
No, it wasn't actually. That's true. It was
Yeah.
like for me, it was like a kind of an experiment of trust. That's
Uh-huh.
what I liked about it. But for you, I don't know if it's still the case, but at least it was in the past. It's part of your art, right?
Hmm. I think it was like something I learned a lot from on the way to making the things I do now. But yeah, it was like exploration and like um, kind of the idea that maybe art is entirely about the transmission of feelings or states of the body. And I think rope was a really good medium for me to experiment with what that meant to sort of try to transfer a complete transfer and understand like a deep knowing and experience with someone.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So it's
Yeah.
like so it's actually a relationship of intimacy, right? It's a bond of deep intimacy.
Totally. And I think also it's like you just from doing it you get to just really understand what affects humans really deeply because it's almost like a performance for one person or like taking them on this journey and so um yeah I think it like really informed what sort of circumstance would make people feel certain ways when making sculptures. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to show some of this art if it's okay for you.
Okay, sure.
There you are. Okay, just give me a second. We're coming back to your stone art a bit later. I'm just scrolling down to your, it's called kin, what's the word? Kinbaku.
Kimbap. Yeah, or some people call it shibari.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Wait a second. It's different. You can just click on it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and these are more like sculptural or like installation style.
Mhm.
Um,
What I really like about this is, of course, the colors, green. And there you go. I mean, like, I don't know if it's very clear, but like a big part of it is like that the women are naked in this. Like, how come this is related to nudeness?
to nudeness?
Yeah. So, like, why are the women naked in this?
Well, to some extent, why not? You know, if you can make it happen, I think that was kind of the feeling of the time. Why would we ever not have people be naked? But yeah, I don't know. It's like the rope bondage comes from a place of like sexuality or like fetishism. So
Okay.
I think you know, in keeping with that feeling and that tradition, I think it makes sense that that's like an aspect of it. Also like to be tied up, the like the feeling of the rope on the skin is like partially what makes it feel good. So to take that away just wouldn't make any sense really.
That's true. I agree with that actually. I remember a
Yeah.
bit the sensation of the rope on the skin.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting. But like you're not so much into it anymore, right? You saw it more like as a process for now, the art that you're doing currently.
Yeah, I mean, I was very into it for some years. I mean, if you go back, you can see like more traditional style. This is like more sculpture style. But yeah, I was really into it for some years. It was like a really I mean, yeah, like I'm a pervert at heart, as you know, and I also like very technical things and so, something that's like challenging and I like intensity.
Yeah.
Uh and so it like fit all these things. So I wasn't like just looking to uh find it as like a tool exactly like it was like what I was interested in at the time. But yeah, now I'm I don't know. It brings in like interesting ways to relate to people when that's like a primary way of how you meet them or how you know them, and it wasn't something I wanted my relationships to be about anymore. You
Okay.
sort of become like their drug dealer in a way, you know, like
Oh, I
more.
understand. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
let me just go through it quickly just to have a look. And how much time does it take to make like art like that?
I don't know. That one maybe took like 6 hours or something.
Okay, 6 hours. Where was
This one's
that? In which country?
this was in Stuttgart, I think.
Ah, in Stuttgart,
Yeah,
Germany.
yeah,
Wow. At the
yeah.
time when you lived, yeah, when you lived in Germany as well?
Hmm. Or
Okay,
maybe I hadn't moved there yet. I don't remember, but I was in Berlin for Eurex, like the rope convention. I think I hadn't yeah, I hadn't moved there yet, but it
okay. I
was
see.
happening. And this was for a video shoot, so everyone is wearing clothes to be very proper.
Ah, I see. And why red? Is there specific meaning of the red color?
No, not
No.
really. I mean, it
I
looks
wished you
good.
said yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think people try to like put in a lot of meaning to a lot of things that don't necessarily require meaning, but I just think it looks good. My teacher, his signature was using red rope, so maybe it's yeah, kind of tradition a little bit. So
Where was that?
in my teacher in Japan of the rope bondage, yeah,
In Japan, which city exactly?
in Tokyo,
In
yeah,
Tokyo. Okay, thanks.
yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, it's more part of your past. Okay, and let's move to your stone art. Stone 40, is that the most recent one right now?
Yeah, well, this one's most recently relocated from. It was originally in the UK outside of Manchester at Chatsworth House, and now it's in Copenhagen at the Bjarke Ingels Group headquarters in the harbor, which is an architecture firm. So this building on the left here is their new headquarters building, and this little park on the pier is like a really awesome spot to be able to put it. So
Okay, nice. I
yeah,
let's have a look quickly at the video.
I might talk. I don't remember what video this is exactly.
Okay.
Oh, no, just get to see it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and this is an awesome spot. Like this ferry to Norway comes through this little harbor, and the seaplane from that goes to Aarhus and back and forth to Copenhagen is landing. And like standing there as they're doing the installation, you just feel like how the harbor is alive with all these different like daily activities. And
Oh,
yeah,
very nice. Very interesting.
yeah. And they designed this park to be like a Danish beach scene, I guess. So it has like all natural Danish like sand dunes that they created and own the, like native plants to Denmark and
Okay.
yeah.
And the patterns that you have of the stones, just
Hmm.
second, if I find another image of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you scroll down, you can see more of it, but after you click on the,
Dark.
yeah.
Mm,
Oops.
the stones, it's a spiral. Is it meant? Is it? Does it have a higher purpose, or is it just because the stones have to be like formed like that in that way?
Oh, yeah, I think almost none of my work has like an intentional meaning like associated with it. Like if you ask about the numbers, they don't mean anything. The shapes don't mean anything specifically. It's like all like the process I use is like entirely like intuition based. So it's like arriving at the place. In this case, was in the UK at first. Um, and just following like the pull of the body or the intuition to understand like what could be the most correct thing to create in that place.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
with
so
like yeah. So, sorry, I don't want to
well,
interrupt.
and there's always constraint, of course. So with time and money and whatever, but yeah, like the initial idea is almost always just it's almost just a practice of like defending the initial instincts through the process of having to work with the constraints that exist. Like this one was originally, I mean, now I'm very glad it wasn't because this was plenty, but originally it was supposed to be a spiral this way and then another counter spiral that came out of it.
Okay.
Uh, but like this is actually perfect. But yeah, I had to take away almost half of the. I think it wasn't going to be as many stones in the spiral as if I remember quite right, and maybe not as many spirals even. But so sometimes the constraints are nice to get to somewhere that's also good.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. It's a pity, and like I would like yeah, that's why you see it very
If you click on it, you can scroll. If you click on it, you can see more pictures. If you
okay.
want to.
It's a pity that it doesn't have a meaning because like it's a beautiful spiral, you know, like I think people that want to have a meaning like on a farm, they will find a meaning.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think like my work is more about feeling something than and like the experience of walking on it than it is about like thinking about something. And I'm
Mhm.
very like adamant about that. I think a lot of at least my early experience of art, or maybe it's like you walk into the museum and it has like a sign and the sign tells you what it's about, and then by the time you've digested that, it's sort of like you can't really just like have an experience of feeling the thing
Yeah.
anymore. And so I really try to reject that, and I don't try to choose stones that have any significance. Like I don't try to name them in any significant way. I don't try to like I try to put like no significance so nobody can like I don't want someone to escape into thinking. I want them to just like walk up and feel the experience that they're having while walking on it. That's what's most important to me about it.
It makes a lot of sense because I think we think way too much and we don't feel enough. And
Hmm.
it makes totally sense, like to just, yeah, have this focus on sensations and feelings and yeah, what happens inside you, and not necessarily to think, oh, what does it mean? Like that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. It's always funny to kind of hear what people think it means, or yeah. So.
Is that a way for you to connect as well? Are you curious what they feel, or is it like something very personal and you think they should keep it more for themselves?
I mean, it's amusing to me to hear what they feel a lot of the time.
Why am you
Uh,
saying?
I don't know, because it's just always different. It's like, I've spent quite a few years trying to figure out the words to describe it, right? Because it's my job in some cases. And so then to hear other people describe it is like, sometimes it's like quite rudimentary, but I can feel that they're like in the same vein that of what I'm trying to think about. And sometimes it's like spot on, and you're like, whoa, like that's you'd said it better than I could have ever. And sometimes I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but like I'm glad you're having like a fun time, you know. And a lot of people, because it is interactive, yeah, maybe they think about it more as a yeah, like there's a lot of different ways to like experience that kind of thing. So I think
I see.
it's kind of fun.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's very cute. That's more for children, right? This one.
Well, it's still it's quite high at the highest one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. History continues. Okay.
yeah, yeah. But I think kids, I think it's good. I think like um, obviously like my work has like an element of like danger or risk associated with it, and I think it's like very important to offer risk to people or offer moments in which they are not like guaranteed safety. I think like more and more, especially in a place like the UK, but more and more everywhere, people are sort of like protected all the time from risk,
Mm.
and I think that separates us from our responsibility for our own actions and our responsibility for like assessing risk and assessing like the place we find ourselves in. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. Like some of my work, like there's this one with this stone that swings around a gallery space, and you can step inside the space that like
Yes.
is created. Did you maybe you came to that exhibition? I don't remember, but
I didn't. You invited me, and I was like, I didn't go. I don't remember why, but I didn't go. But like, I just switched to your Instagram account,
oh
and
yeah,
I remember seeing a video of it.
I think it's up higher because this is
I,
older stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. I started with the older ones. It's true. Where is it?
it'll come. It'll
Ah,
come.
here. There's one
Yeah.
here.
hmm This video is not actually like the easiest to tell what's going on, but it's yeah, it's a stone in a gallery space, and there's a motor above it, and it keeps the stone right now in the video. It's not moving, but it'll keep the stone moving around the room. And yeah, visitors to the gallery were invited to like take a step into the center of the space that's created as the stone moves. And this one it brought up a lot of discussion kind of around, yeah, like if it was safe or that it's
Yeah.
like very risky, and especially in Germany, people want to make sure things are safe, and especially inviting people to like interact with this thing that was like objectively could hurt them. So it made me think about it a lot because intuitively, I think it's like, I mean, it's obviously threatening, right? Which is interesting, and that's exciting. It's somehow exciting. Like when you walk into the gallery space, you're like, whoa, like which is cool. But then when you sort of assess it, it's like it moves very consistently. It can't change anything about itself. It's like walking down the street with cars and people driving them is, in my opinion, much more dangerous. It's just that we've like accepted it, that it's like happening all the time, right? Because we actually can't predict that movement completely, and they're much heavier than the stone is. So I sort of made that argument, and the gallery kept it there for the exhibition, which was great. But
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Um,
yeah, this is a really fun one. I want to install this one again. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and I feel like I wanted to ask you about. Wait a second. Is that from you as well?
This is a concept that never, yeah.
Ah, okay. Just let me have a look quickly. Um, yeah, I have different questions actually. One is related to pain. Your
hmm
relationship with pain. Like I was always curious about this one. How would you define your relationship with pain? Because I know that you don't avoid pain.
Oh yeah. Um, mm,
Physical pain and emotional pain.
yeah, sure. I think I avoid more emotional pain than physical. Um,
Ah,
I've sought out physical pain. I don't think I've sought out emotional pain, but have suffered plenty as well, I guess. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's an important aspect of like I've done some hook suspension, which is like the where they put the needles through the skin, and then you get held from this. So this is like, yeah, opting into quite a lot of pain. Um, and I think like this to me is like a really effective way to sort of measure your like mental state of like how strong the feeling of like the mind over the body is. Like if you have to exist within this pain, or if you can overcome it. And now, yeah, now I would say like climbing, like a lot of climbing can be very painful. Whether it's like holding onto something very small or sticking your foot into something, or like hanging from, yeah, just there's a lot of very painful aspects of it. And
mm,
uh, yeah, so I think it's like almost a practice in maybe acknowledging but not being like ruled by the signals of your body, which um yeah, I think now maybe I've had like sort of evolved feelings about where like maybe I want to listen more sometimes than I have in the past. Or with climbing, it's like it's maybe not actually good to like completely ignore those feelings. It's not like you don't actually want to separate from them. You just want to like not have them control your actions. Whereas like, yeah, with the hooks, it's maybe more like it's like you're like breathing through it, and it's like this overwhelming experience that you have to just kind of yeah, maybe submit to. But I think it's like yeah, pain can be like a really interesting way to yeah, create intensity and create moments of like presence and consciousness for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And you used it to strengthen your mind, basically, your mental
Yeah.
strength, right? Um, this experience with physical pain, doesn't it help you as well to deal with emotional pain?
You know, I would hope so. But mm, yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, something about like sitting with discomfort, right? Maybe in terms of like if you can sit with physical pain, maybe you can sit with emotional pain. But I have to admit to myself, maybe I had more to learn in the emotional pain category than the physical pain, right? Like
Okay.
I think my practice with or my default state with emotional pain was to transform it into growth, but in that way, in the way, but also not fully feel it in order like it's sort of like creating intensity from like the energy that's inside, but not like acknowledging the like anger or fear or sadness that's associated with that. And instead, like sort of parlaying all that those energy of those feelings, but into growth instead. Um,
Okay.
and so these days I'm trying to maybe live a little more boring style and sit with more discomfort instead.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
Let me get to some pictures of Burning Man. Because there was one beautiful one, like they are beautiful, but like there's one specifically beautiful where like I think where is it? Where it seems like you meditate on it, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure which one you mean. So let's see. Like I do think that the especially like this one that you have your mouse over, it's like Stone 27 is what that one's called.
This one.
Uh yeah, these ones with the hanging stones. I do think they're like the way I talk about them is that they're like to create moments of presence or moments of intensified consciousness. So I do think like as you sort of walk on them, it maybe is like a meditation that's in motion and kind of
Oh,
with each step, you know, with each step, you sort of are like more and more focused on exactly where you are. Which I think is a way to like yeah to become very present. And then there's also this moment of maybe release when you get to the top and you realize like the like that part of the journey is kind of over, and then a reconfiguration as you realize, oh, now I actually have to do the down part, which is also difficult, and then another release when you actually get to the ground. Um, and yeah, so when I document them, like I the people I work with sort of know that atmosphere that I'm going with, and so yeah, it has like a maybe a little bit of a meditative atmosphere for sure. Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
I think like I've never had a formal meditation practice, but from my feelings of what that would mean, I think it's like sort of my offering in that genre. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for sharing. Like I will go back to the normal view. Okay. Benjamin, what does spirituality mean for you?
I was just talking about this the other day that because I've been thinking a lot about like how important the sunset has been to me in life, and I was like yeah, that maybe that's like the closest I've had to like consistent feeling of like spirituality or a you know like a religious experience, where some people would go to like church every Sunday or yeah, I don't know, yeah, meditate or something. And I really found the like the daily ritual of the sunset to be like almost a spiritual experience, right? Like that this like incredible, overpowering visual display is like there for us every day. And I mean, I've been speaking about it mostly recently and like how I've lost the potency of it, which is kind of sad to me. But yeah, I think it's this like feeling of I mean, I don't know if this is very considered, but it's like almost feels like the universe was created entirely for me in that moment. Like that's like a spiritual experience, you know.
Ah,
Uh, Yeah.
And is that connected to you to practice gratitude for things you see, things you experience?
It should be, but not exactly. No, I I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, not in any formal way, that's for sure. I think I am very grateful for those things, but maybe in the past it's almost like an exploitative relationship. Like maybe I want to like absorb it, the power of it, and then use the power that it provides inside myself, like to harness some of it, you know. Um, yeah.
And tell me about your quest for happiness.
Um, well, I think it's changed a lot in years. That's a good question. Maybe this like larger, um, if it's like volumes of life or whatever. Like the last volume was like um, my brother's death, like about 11 years ago, and then the sort of quest to sort of reconcile that within myself and how the world should be without him in it, basically, and it brought a lot of inspiration to me to how I wanted to live and evolution in myself. And so maybe that was like the previous volume, which was a pretty thorough volume, and then or maybe two volumes ago, and then there was one of like expressing some of the things that I maybe discovered on the way through creating moments for people, maybe through the rope, and then also the sculptures that I could share with many people. And that was like okay, like I had this like really difficult undertaking that I transmuted into growth, and I feel like I discovered a lot in that. And then with the sculpture, I felt like I needed to share those discoveries with people and let them experience some of those elements, and that was very fulfilling. And I feel like now I've transitioned more into yeah, trying to build I mean, God, for it sounds so boring, but like some more stability and more like less focus on sensation and more on satisfaction. And so maybe mm, yeah, sort of like actually trying to find like a slower pace and trying to find a way of relating to people that feels more like satisfying long term as opposed to very stimulating in moments. Yeah.
Okay. So more like seems like more from extreme experiences to more balanced and more peaceful.
Well, maybe yeah. I'm trying to just become more boring, really, but um, I don't know. Yeah, balance is something I always struggle with in terms of like if that's actually something that's good or not. I found so much success in my life by seeking the opposite, I guess, like by like being very unbalanced and like making my life entirely about one thing. But yeah, I guess yeah, trying to find balance, trying to find a feeling. Like there's this feeling that I know exists, and I'm like searching for how to create it. And it's like this feeling of like or like the feeling that I want is like to be like yeah on a deck of a house that I live on where I can watch the sunset, and this feeling with other humans that are there with me, some of with different configurations of how we relate to each other, but um that there's this feeling of kind of not wanting anything more, like that's enough, and I'm sort of searching for that and how to make sure that can exist. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds more like peaceful moments of your life or peaceful
Hmm.
phases of your life, actually. Was just wondering,
Yeah.
how old are you exactly? You sound like 60 or 80. Like, is it
No,
like I would
30.
have a more boring life? Like I think that you lived so much extreme moments in such a dense, specific time. I feel like that's
Mm,
what you did in your life, or like what I know from you is like people didn't experience that in hundreds of years. You squeezed every
mm.
intense experience in it, and then like now you're like, okay, let's chill a bit out. No?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes I forget. I like because I switch. I sometimes I switch like what I think is the most interesting things, like quite a lot. And so sometimes I forget that I've done things pretty thoroughly. But at the moment, I feel like a total beginner. Like I'm like, yeah, my interests revolve around like athleticism and climbing, and this is something that I'm. There's people like just infinitely better all around me, and I'm like, wow, all these people have done like so much, but in pretty narrow lines sometimes. So it's a good reminder. Um,
But you're very modest, like in like yeah, you see yourself as a learner, as a constant learner, and there's like such a
mm.
huge modesty about it.
I don't know if I'm very often accused of modesty, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, like a ver- and like of course, like there's a huge self-confidence, like to do exactly what you want. But I feel like in the way you're saying that as well, it's very balanced with like modesty. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Well,
Like
thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. These days I feel less confident than I've ever felt. So that's also nice to hear. But yeah, I think it's like it's actually pretty scary to basically yeah, be a complete beginner in things in the thing that you're most interested in again, but I've done it many times, so it's like a weird like process, I guess, of being a beginner and then being feeling very confident and good in such things. But I like to do things also that either like scare me in some way or I've been thinking a lot about comfort zone, like the comfort zone of like, okay, this is my comfort zone. And for so long, my comfort zone was like, oh, I don't have enough hands, but uh like yeah, if this is the range of the comfort zone, like my comfort zone was actually here. It was like always outside. Like I became more comfortable being outside the comfort zone than like inside it. So I've been like trying to imagine what it would be like to like go back into like what's actually comfortable as opposed to always being on kind of like the extreme end of things or the exciting end, let's say. Uh yeah, so it's a continually humbling process. Like that actually feels more difficult now than it is to do like to be in, for example, like a good example is like to go to a party and like not dance like really crazy or whatever is actually like harder for me now than it would be to just be like the craziest dancer. Um, and so I think it's like because then I'm because for some reason then yeah in that context then I'm like insignificant or I'm like not creating the reality around me that I want to absorb. So um, yeah, so to sit with like, oh, it's actually uncomfortable to be like kind of just a normal person within this context. Um, yeah, so that's something I'm exploring. But yeah.
um how do you see the future of humankind?
Oh, humankind. I don't know. I don't think I think so like such a vast scale. Um,
And like, do you feel comfortable with the future? Like, like, how do you see the future for yourself as well?
for me personally, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, right now is like a particularly hard time to be like super optimistic about the future, but I think generally humans always figure it out, and everything comes in waves of yeah, of sort of compression and release of kind of progression in the world and what feels like regressions. And so it feels like maybe some of like the actions in the world at the moment feel like completely overwhelming at times in terms of like everything's just really terrible. But I think that's a pretty self-centered view. And then if you like zoom out, like everything's actually probably just fine mostly. And that as time goes, like all those events just become less and less significant. And I think we're going to be okay. That's my general feeling. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Um,
like another question, how do you feel about death?
mm. Yeah, I was talking recently, like with two friends of mine, they're like that they think about death all the time, and I'm like, I never think about death, um, but I think it relates to yeah other like I just don't I'm not like a big thinker, like I'm like an intuitive based person without a lot of internal dialogue, but yeah, I think I mean. Yeah, I guess it affects how I think about the world. Like in seeing my grandparents get older and seeing my parents get older and basically everyone approaching closer to death that I have had in my life, my whole life. It definitely makes me think, I guess, yeah, death is inspiring. Like it's inspired me a lot. Like the death of my brother inspired huge change in my life. The like nearing of death of my relatives and my family has also inspired a lot of change in terms of kind of seeing how I want to spend my time. Uh, it inspires me to like undergo this sort of investigation that I'm doing at the moment to like try to get to this feeling because like I could also see a world in which I chase great stimulation for the rest of my life, but I think that's not how I don't want to die with that as the history of my being. You know, I want to achieve this like um yeah, I want to live in different phases, and I think like death has definitely inspired that in different like ways of observing it. Yeah.
In
Does that make sense?
can you explain a bit more? How does how the death of your brother inspires you?
Well, it just um yeah, it made it like instantly clear that life is temporary, you know, which is kind of obvious, but in an example like that where like an unexpected death of someone that's like younger than you and it really shifted it made it like I realized I had been living this is an example I used to use like there's like an emotional range that you're like going through in your life and I realized I'd been in like a very thin slice of that graph of like oh feeling like a little bit and then my brother dies and it's this like very low feeling so I realized there was just like a lot more range of emotion that could be felt which you know it sounds kind of obvious but maybe I had lost track of in some way. It was like a reminder and this reminder just like it was like oh I don't want to just go back to this like small range. I want to feel what life has to offer both in like the highs and the lows um and I want to live in a way that allows me to experience more of that range. That was yeah, incredibly inspiring from that. Yeah.
Okay.
As an expert in happiness, what today would you say taught you something about happiness?
Well, can I watch the whole video in peace and silence?
Oh, I don't even mean about our interaction. I just mean about your day generally today.
Ow, about my day in
Yeah,
general.
yeah, but I mean this is part of your day, I guess, but I just meant like yeah. I feel like every day if we're really paying attention, perhaps we can learn something about happiness, but I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think that like you can, yeah, learn from any single experience that you have on this planet about happiness. It's like I'm also like a huge learner, and today I learned gratitude because, for example, I did something new with my son together, with my 9 year
Mhm.
old son. I did actually a podcast with him, a
Oh,
YouTube video,
fun.
and
Nice.
it was about success. And to do a video with my kid together taught me actually a lot about like gratitude, you know, like
Yeah,
that
that's
this
beautiful.
kid is doing something, you know, like, and it's maybe not that easy for him, especially he's like French, you know, like he's like bilingual, but like he did it in German.
Mm.
German is less, it's harder for him than French.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so gratitude, like, and always like doing new things is like to learn. To learn is a big part of happiness. Like, you know, if you're like doing every day the same routine, like, I feel like that, yeah, like you don't understand happiness. I think the biggest
Mm.
part of happiness is actually growth, you know, like that you mentally grow, you grow emotionally, that, that you experience more and more happy feelings. You know,
Mm.
I see that as a growth process, like, and not
Hmm.
necessarily like in an extreme way by having like a really strong sensations, like, you know, like,
Mm.
but also like, for example, how can you feel more gratitude? How can you feel more peace in your life? How do other
Mm.
people experience peace? Like, for example, when you were talking about the sunset, like like for me, it was like I was thinking, is that for you something that grounds you, or is that something
Mm.
that where you feel most peace, you know, like the sensation of this experience that you have, like
Mm.
it seems so important to you. So what do you feel in that moment, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm missing that it is so important to me at the moment, but in reflecting on the past, um, yeah, I mean, it could be a whole range of things. I think it just amplified whatever I was feeling at the time, right? And I knew how to also use it to amplify it. So if I'm feeling peaceful and relaxed, then it amplifies that feeling. But also, yeah, if I'm having an adventure or I want to create an adventure, it can also be part of that. So I think I think it's just like observation of magic in the world, you know, or like something that's kind of like unexplainable, right? Of like yeah, I think that just makes the world feel very interesting, and that's like yeah, bringing reverence to that, like the sunset as like a representation of sort of those interesting and yeah, moments that are kind of like too rich to ever be able to convey in words that exist in the world. Yeah, yeah.
Like this idea of this sunset that you just described, it just reminded me every time I felt when I was with you in Berlin. And there was always somehow this notion of higher awareness of
Hmm.
feelings, like
Hmm.
a higher awareness of consciousness. I remember I asked you like which song you like played. Like you played once a song from the Beatles. I forgot that it was "I Want You," and I remember listening to this song with you together, and it was quite loud. And the way you acted with this song, there was always a hyper awareness, a hyper consciousness of the moment, as if like the
Mm.
moment in the now is the most important thing.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that's one of your strengths. I don't know how other people experience that, but it's like it's not really surprising that you do art that
Mm.
where people are invited to feel more conscious, because I think that's your whole connection with people, like
Hmm.
from my perspective, like be more aware of the moment, like take everything in with all your senses.
Mm. Yeah, presence being like yeah, the sunset. So that's really what the sunset is, right? It's just a representation of presence in the universe. Uh, yeah. And then I made a project called the Sunset Research Institute, and it had some kind of principles or rules, and the principles were that the sun is always setting somewhere, and that every second counts. And I really like this idea that you have to dedicate your life to like presence on something that is always happening, and every second of it is important, and it's like you're bound to fail, and that this is like you can't actually do that, but it's very aspirational, which I like. And say like even when you can't see it, it's like the sun is always continuously setting. It's just what phase is it in? So we can try to always be present, was kind of my feeling of the time, to always be
Mm.
present everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially like the idea that every second counts. I think
Yeah.
that's like yeah, a huge appreciation for time, like for the time you have on this planet.
Yeah. But it becomes, it's, I think um, was also made, I would say easier or simpler or somehow by the way I arranged my life at the time. And now it feels more complicated. I think, um, like I was like in that phase of my life, I was undoubtedly loving of myself more than anything else. Like it was like my, you know, compromise was very far away, and my focus was on myself. And yeah, I've had a shift of that in some years, and it makes it much harder to appreciate the sunset, which is kind of
I,
sad.
oh, I don't understand. Why does it make harder to appreciate the sunset?
Um, well, because yeah, if I when bringing in, I mean, maybe it's just I sometimes I feel I've had times in my life where I've done things so intensely, like you said, that when I do them only like less intensely, or I can just feel it's not as potent as it has been in the past. But yeah, I think when I now that I'm kind of living in this where I've brought other people into my life that I would, make large compromise for, and try to yeah, shift the focus away from just being about like myself as the main priority. Yeah, I'm just less present. That's it's I'm taking into account a lot of other needs of myself and other people. Yeah. I've done like a lot of transformation and growth in my life, but I've never done it with it's always been so intuitive. It's like maybe I have a dream or a thought or like a feeling of what I want my life to be like, and then a couple of years will go by or something, and then I'll realize, oh, I'm doing this thing that I like once thought would be really interesting, or I'm feeling this way that I once thought I would want to feel, with no process in between whatsoever, just intuition of like movement through the world and following the pull of the body is the way I like to talk about it now. But yeah, in this phase of my life, I'm doing a lot of therapy and different modalities, and I think this brings so much observation to that process that I'm almost like yeah, I'm like I feel like I have less answers than I've ever had, or less confidence in anything ever evolving or changing by bringing this attention instead of just this feeling or like intuition to it.
So this is all surprising to me, especially like your transformation is very surprising to me. Like if we can go deeper, actually, like your transformation from what I experienced more like polyamorous relationships
Mm,
to a monogamous relationship was very surprising to me, and also to see the switch to like from I felt you were super self-confident like in Berlin, like, and
mm,
your wisdom was always very clear to me. I was
hmm
very like grateful like about like to see your wisdom, you know, like
hmm
you were spreading a lot of wisdom through even through your energy. You didn't even need it to communicate it with words. um so, and now to see that you're doing therapy and there's way less self-love, and there were a lot of changes. What exactly happened?
Yeah, I'm just trying to go back to just devolve actually, just back to like a really normal human being. Uh it's a joke. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I went through a relationship where I felt deeply in love with someone, and then my heart was broken through that, and um yeah, just having to feel that experience is yeah, brings a lot of like doubt and I mean, I've always been like curious about doing more therapy and things, and now doing it yeah, I don't know if I'm completely convinced that it's um what the outcome would be exactly, but yeah, like I said, like the observation, I think like when we knew each other in Berlin, I was living much more in like um yeah, intuition and loving myself more than, or like I came basically first in the order of anything basically, or like my dreams and my thoughts. And as I see like that not leading to a life that I want to live in a sustained way, yeah, I'm having to re-examine those things for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and I thought like from my experience, I believe that actually when you really deeply love yourself, a broken heart actually is not possible anymore.
Mm.
You
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, monogamy is the new radical. That's all I can say. It's like a very extreme construct, and if you and it can be a life-altering experience to try it out. So, uh,
okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Like, okay, so would you say that polyamorous was less intense than this a monogamous relationship?
Well, I'm I would say I never did polyamory really, more non-monogamy.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, it was definitely intense in some ways, but I would say overall, it's not as yeah. I really think monogamy is the new radical. I think it's like it's all about going back to back to monogamy. Maybe, and like it's silly, but like maybe the like these like very conservative ideas are actually like the most radical thing you can possibly do. Like for example, maybe not have sex with someone until you get married. I don't know, but like maybe just know them very well or something. It's like a totally radical construct. Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
or
totally
this,
understand what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, or this idea um that like we and I don't believe this anyways. When I say monogamy, I mean something probably a lot looser than what most people in the world say when they mean monogamy, but right, like this idea that like, oh, I'm gonna be with only this one person and they're gonna fulfill everything, and like it's just like it's so taboo. It's like my fetish is only you, and it's like, oh, that's so crazy, that we can like live in a world where like, yeah, like even if we just speak sexually, like our sexual desires can be fulfilled by one person. It's like, ooh, that's like that's very kinky, I think, if you now it's like come full circle for sure. Um,
That's amazing. In so many ways because like I totally understand what you say. Uh,
mhm.
I don't I think in life you take a decision, oh, I'm going to be a monogamous person or I'm going to be a
It's the
person.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like what you did was also like quite an example for me because it was first very surprising to me because
Mm,
that was like still a moment where I felt like oh like once you have this polyamorous mindset or non-monogamous mindset, you're not returning anymore to monogamous relationships, but then in the end like it's all just energy and life can be so
mm,
changing and personality can be super changing and yeah, it's all just a flow and that totally like your perspective makes totally sense that you can that like some people can find monogamous relationships super boring, but once you experienced polyamorous relationships you can find a new kink in a monogamous
yeah,
relationship, which is amazing because
yeah,
it's all just an interpretation of how you experience things, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, also yeah, I didn't know. Maybe it's just a lack of creativity, though. I mean, it's partly that I met someone that wanted that. I mean, she had been non-monogamous for most of her life, so I think if she hadn't been, then I also it wouldn't have worked. But she wanted to be monogamous, and I wanted to be with her more than I wanted to. That I felt stubborn to stick with what I'd been doing. Like it felt like how stupid it would be to miss this opportunity to be with this person just because I thought I had ruled this out. So to me, it was pretty radical. It was like a radical idea to make a shift. But also, I had been thinking for a long time about the way I had been relating and how does it like build in a life basically like long term, like what does it look like in 20 years instead of in 2 or 3 years. And I mean, maybe some of your creative listeners have a good answer to this, but I have yet to see like an example of non-monogamy or polyamory that I want to live for the rest of my life. And that's just me. I don't mean that as like a judgment against it, but like I actually, yeah, so maybe it was just a lack of creativity of like how to transfer that into a sustainable life that I want to like grow old in, or like I really had this desire to like what would it look like to um become very focused with like a teammate in life, and make leaps of imagination together is kind of like what I was thinking about it before. And I just see how the pursuit or enjoyment of many humans or multiple humans inevitably detracts from that focus, and so I didn't actually think monogamy would be the like a point that I would end up in that exploration, but it's the new radical, so exploring it. But it's also totally overwhelming and just yeah, it's way high, it feels way higher stakes relating with people. Like I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to meet people in a way where like to assess moving towards like a monogamous relationship. Like it doesn't make sense to me. It's just totally stressful and difficult. Whereas when we met, I just I just like connection was just so easy, and it just felt everything was additive and great, and like everything was adding to making the world more beautiful and fun. And now it's like high stakes, so it's yeah, it's an interesting shift.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that you didn't heal your broken heart, actually. I think that you lost,
Well,
sounds like you lost trust in relationships.
well, yeah, that certainly is still undergoing. But I'd even Yeah, but even when I just think about it, like in a hypothetical sense, even not with a person in front of me, it's just like, whoa, like the decision of like this is going to be the one person for like I didn't even really I didn't fully um going into this previous monogamous relationship, like I didn't fully like understand what that choice was really, and now that I like have a little more knowledge about a reminder of what that means, and I'm like, whoa, like how am I ever going to like make that choice again easily? It's like this is very serious, really.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think it's all a question of trust. I think once you trust back in your process, like that, like life will exactly send you what you want in life, what makes you
Yeah,
happy. I think then it's not a problem because like I feel like life always gives you what you're ready for and what you actually really desire. It always
maybe.
does. It's like if you're straight, if you're focused, if you're clear in life, then
Hmm.
and you don't have like not to think about it. You just have to feel what you want to attract.
Yeah, that's possible. I don't know. I've also my base instincts maybe sometimes lead me to again, it's like stimulation versus satisfaction, right? So some of my base instincts lead me to stimulation, and I want to challenge those. And so I guess I don't think about it as so simple anymore in this way. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well, we talk in 10 years. Who knows what you say, what you say in 10.
yeah.
I don't
Well,
trust your personality to be a consistent line. Tell me something like that
no,
now.
me neither. Me neither. That's for sure. I mean, let's keep it exciting at the very least.
That's for sure.
No, in 10 years, I'm going to be sitting on a porch and I'm going to have a beautiful, loving partner who we've built a life together, maybe have some kids even of a few years old. And we will appear by all means very boring and normal.
Don't use
And
the word boring. Like
well, I just mean
there's still
appear
a
boring.
judgment in it.
I want to be boring. Like I want to like sit and be boring and be like really happy about it. But like I aspire to it. I actually was just telling my friend like I'm working on being more shy. It's just like it's a really funny thing it just kind of came out, and then I was just like, wow, that's really funny actually. But I'm not really working on being more shy, but it's just interesting to think about, like, yeah, what if we aspire to like up to like more like boring and normal traits, which I haven't aspired to in a long time. But if we look at the comfort zone, maybe I'm aspiring to be more in that. So like shyness is part of that. So
I
yeah.
see. Like go for it. I mean, like do whatever feels like it. Honestly, it's like you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah, and then we get to live many lifetimes in one life, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what you're doing. Like that's exactly what you're doing. Let's see. Well, thanks a lot for sharing, Benjamin. It was highly a pleasure to listen to us, to get these
Yeah, thank you.
insights, and I wish you all the best. We talk
Okay.
soon. I will do another podcast in 5 or 10 years with you.
Yeah, we'll see where we each are. Yeah, thank you.